Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing signs you must move on from your ex. I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing signs you must move on from your ex. So if you have gone through a breakup, you might be wondering if and when you should move on from your ex. I actually prefer the term moving forward, and hence in today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 signs that it's time to move on, or as I like to say, move forward with your life. So let's get straight into this, and number 1 is if your ex has blocked you. So there are many dumpees who find out that their ex has blocked them, and instead of accepting the blocking, instead of respecting the blocking, they try to cheat the blocking. If you find out that you have been blocked, you must respect the blocking. Unfortunately, you have no other option. Now, what you need to remember is that if you've been blocked on one platform, you need to count this as if you've been blocked on every platform. There are so many ways that we can communicate nowadays that it's probably not likely that your ex will block you on every single platform. But if and when you find out that you've been blocked on one platform, you should be respecting the blocking and understanding that it's unlikely that it will be beneficial if you reach out to them. You know, I'm a big believer that if you've been dumped, you should never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. If you've been blocked, then this is a surefire sign that you shouldn't be contacting your ex. And if you've been blocked on one platform, but you find out that on other platforms you could still communicate, that doesn't give you the right to try and cheat by blocking and reach out to them on those platforms. This can be something which is very unnerving for someone who has blocked somebody. If you've blocked somebody and then you find out that they're trying to reach out to you in other ways, this can seem quite scary sometimes. And unfortunately, I have heard of dumpees having law enforcement put upon them due to them not giving up on trying to contact their ex. If you keep chasing your ex, in particular if you have been blocked, it is more likely that instead of your ex wanting to communicate with you, it's more likely that instead of that they will actually try to get a restraining order put on you by contacting the police. So this is something which can get really serious, and I've heard so many stories of where things go wrong when they don't need to. You need to understand that if you've been blocked, this doesn't necessarily mean you're blocked forever. But if you make things worse at this time, then it probably is going to be the final situation between you and your ex. Because, look, if you've been blocked, there is a chance you may be unblocked in the future. But if you've been blocked and then you have a restraining order put on you because you keep chasing your ex, because you ignore the fact that you were blocked on one platform, you try to cheat it, maybe you actually go to their house, knock on their door, maybe you wait outside where they work, all of these things are just as bad. If you do these things and the police get involved, then look, do you really honestly think that your ex is going to unblock you then? It's very unlikely, unfortunately. If you make things worse, then things are even less likely than at the time of you being initially blocked. So if and when you find out you've been blocked on one platform, respect the blocking, accept the blocking, and understand that you are blocked on everything, even if your ex hasn't actually gone to the point of physically and officially blocking you on every single platform. There is always going to be a way to get around this, but you shouldn't. If you find out you've been blocked, you need to move forward with your life. You need to move on. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about signs you must move on from your ex. And point number 2 is if your ex has got engaged or married. Now, of course, if somebody is to have got married, then they would have likely been engaged for a while previous. So we're going to include both of these elements here. If you find out that your ex is dating somebody new, even if you believe that it is a rebound relationship and it might end suddenly, you have to respect the fact they are dating somebody new. You have to respect the fact that they are in a relationship with somebody else at this time. If you then find out that they've got engaged, or even if you found out they've then got married, this is the time to really take a look at yourself and understand that it is not going to happen between you and your ex anytime soon. Now, I've seen some crazy things happen in the world, and never say never. You never know what the future holds. And I've known of instances where a dumper has got married to somebody else, and then in the future has still reached out to their dumpee. These things can happen, but we have to understand that they are less likely to happen, and therefore you can't be waiting around. You shouldn't be clock watching. You shouldn't be thinking, I'm just going to wait for this to kind of evolve into a situation where my ex, the dumper, reaches out to me, because it's not likely to happen. Just because I've heard it happen, just because it can happen, it's not likely to happen. And you have one life. You need to live your life. You need to live your life to the full. You need to push forward with positivity, and you need to respect the fact that your ex is engaged or married to somebody else. So even though it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll never hear from your ex again, it does mean it is a clear sign that you need to move forward with your life. You need to move on from your ex at this time if you find out that your ex is engaged or married. Now, before we get into point number 3, I think it's very important to say that everything we've spoke of so far is generalized advice. But when I'm speaking about point number 3, I'm about to get into, this is something which is going to cover every possibility. And hence, I hope you stick with me. I hope you listen to the end. Because even though points number 1 and points number 2 are very important and very valid, point number 3 is going to be for the vast majority of you listening to this podcast right now. Because when we move into point number 3 of signs you must move on from your ex, point number 3 is if you've been dumped. So whereas point number 1 and point number 2 was talking about if you was blocked, if you find out your ex is engaged, or if they've actually got married, these are things which you might think, yeah, I understand that when I think about it logically. When I say point number 3, this encompasses everything. And hence, technically speaking, I could have just said there's only one point today, and it is this: if you have been dumped. But I knew that I needed to get to this stage by mentioning first some of the more obvious signs, some of the more obvious key stages that you might find out your ex has moved into, and hence you would realise that you need to move forward at that time. But point number 3 ultimately is the only point, because if you have been dumped, I do truly believe you need to move forward with your life. You need to move on. But here's the thing: this will not decrease the chance of you getting your ex back. So whether you want to try to get your ex back or whether you want to move forward anyway, your only option if you have been dumped is to move forward with your life. You must move on. Okay, you might be thinking, well, if I want to get my ex back, what on earth is the point of moving on? That makes no sense. But listen, if you have been dumped, your ex is not wanting to be in a relationship with you at this time. There is nothing you can do until if and when they have regrown enough romantic emotional attraction to want to reconnect with you. This is done in various ways, but mainly by implementing my version of the no contact rule, enabling space to grow attraction, and also during this time, becoming a version 2.0 of yourself. And one of the best ways to become a version 2.0 of yourself is to practice perishable skills. Perishable skills are skills which if you don't practice, you will lose it. You either use it or you lose it. And some perishable skills include communication skills, flirting skills, dating skills. If you've been dumped and you're just waiting for your ex, you're just chasing your ex around, even though it is unlikely to work on other reasons as well, such as you're chasing your ex further away, you're not respecting the breakup, etc. Additionally, you're not practicing the skills you need to practice. You have been dumped for a reason, and it might not necessarily be because of your communication skills, but what I can say is if you don't practice them, you will get worse at them. Now, if you were dumped because of communication, if you were dumped because you were not in dating mode, you weren't dating your former partner properly, then I can definitely say that you need to practice these skills. And what is the best way to practice these skills? Well, it's to get out there into the world and date new people, make new connections, and live your life to the full. So in essence, it is moving on. You must move on. You must move forward. Whether you want your ex back or not, that is the only option. Dating new people will ironically increase the chance of your ex wanting to reconnect with you because they will understand and see that you are a dateable individual, whereas at the time of a breakup, you don't seem dateable at all. You must move on, you must move forward, and then you will likely be in a position one day where you will either get your ex back or you will find somebody even better. Some people find somebody even better and then they hear from their ex, and at that stage they have a big decision to make. But ultimately, if you're looking for signs about when you want to move on, when you need to move forward with your life after your breakup away from your ex, the sign is as soon as you have been dumped. So even though I've spoken of the more obvious things, such as if your ex was engaged or married, or if your ex blocked you, ultimately, if you have been dumped, that is the only sign. That is the time to move on. That is the time to move forward with your life. And that is the moment where you will increase the chance of either getting your ex back or finding somebody even better by growing your attraction skills, becoming a version 2.0 of yourself, and putting yourself out into the world in a more positive way, living a life where you are happy, carefree, and fun, not negative, not angry, not bitter, and not somebody that others don't want to spend time with. You need to be the person that others gravitate towards, and then you will eventually find ultimate happiness with or without your ex. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.